Hey, hello again, and welcome to your English 4 class. Last Friday, last class, we finished the quizzes related to models for hypothetical situations and for speculation, and today we're starting with a completely and entirely new topic. We're going to do two things. We're going to learn some vocabulary related to traveling, and we're going to talk about reporting commands and advice. And that is going to be very, very interesting. Let's start with that. Okay, so let's start. For the next 3 hours, for the next 2 classes, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn some vocabulary related to traveling. We're going to use participial adjectives. Remember, participial adjectives are adjectives that come from verbs. So we're using some adjectives that are actually past participles. You're going to see some examples of that. And two, the second thing we're going to do is to talk and to learn how to use reporting commands and advice. You're going to report, you're going to tell other people some commands or advice that people have given you. So the objective of the class are these two things, and how are you going to do it? You're going to use these 4 verbs: tell, advise, remind, and warn, plus an object. It can be object pronoun, and you're going to use an infinitive. That is the structure you're going to learn and you're going to use to report commands and advice other people have given you. So let's start with the vocabulary. But first, remember that this reporting commands and advice topic is very similar to the topic we learned, I think it was like a month ago, when we learned about verb plus object plus verb in the Four Corners book in page 19. So keeping that in mind, we can continue, and let's start with the vocabulary. This vocabulary comes from page 48. And what are we going to do? I'm going to give you some synonyms of this vocabulary, and I'm going to explain what the vocabulary is related to. So, for example, the first word we have is delayed. Well, a synonym for delayed is postponed or late. This unit is related to traveling, so let's think about we're going on vacation and you are in the airport and your flight is supposed to leave at 12. But suddenly you hear an announcement in which they tell you that the flight is not leaving at 12, but it's leaving at 1. That means that the flight is being delayed or postponed, or it's late. Upgraded, a synonym of upgraded, means promoted or moved up. You are already in your plane, you're going on your vacation, on your holiday, and you're really happy, but you have an economy class ticket, and suddenly they tell you that if you want, you can move to first class. That means that you've been upgraded or promoted. Expired means terminated or perished. Let's talk about food. Let's say that you have a tuna can, and you look at the due date of your tuna can and it says that is March 15, but today it's April the 2nd, so that means that your food has expired or is expired. Issued means promulgated or printed. When we talk about, for example, official documents or laws, it means that those laws have been issued. Overbooked means that you have too many reservations, in the case of a hotel or a flight or a bus or a train. When there are more reservations than rooms, or when there are more reservations than seats, that means that the flight or the hotel is overbooked. Guaranteed means protected, if we're talking about your rights. Or about a reservation, if your reservation is guaranteed, it means that it's protected or secured. And packed Packed means crowded or full. If you go to a restaurant and it's filled with people, it's full of people, that means that it's packed. Or when you ride in Transmilenio in regular schedules and you take a Transmilenio at 5:30 in the afternoon and it's full with people, that means that it's packed. If you have a friend you like a lot, and he says, oh, you have to go to that restaurant because the restaurant is actually excellent, the food is amazing, the service is incredible, and then when you go there and the service and the food is not that good, that means that the restaurant is overestimated or that its quality is exaggerated. And the same thing happens with the prices. When your friend says, or you go to a restaurant and the restaurant is not very good, the restaurant is actually not so good, but the prices are really high, it means that the restaurant is overpriced or overpromoted or overestimated. And if you go, for example, you buy a ticket to go to a theater, and they tell you that the ticket is 50,000 pesos. But when you go to the ticket machine or when you go to buy the ticket, and they tell you that it's cheaper, for example, it is just 25,000, that means that the ticket is discounted or deducted, or that its price is reduced. So keep, please, this vocabulary in mind for the rest of the unit, because this vocabulary is going to be included in the exam. Let's continue with the book. We're going to read from Luke's travel blog.
Travel experiences. Page 48. Exercise 1. Vocabulary. Travel talk. Luke's travel blog. Sunday, August 25th.
My trip's been full of surprises so far. First, my flight here was delayed. I took the next one, and I was upgraded to first class. Then I discovered that my visa was expired, but I was issued one at the airport on arrival. Good thing. But they lost my luggage. When I went to my 2-star hotel, I found out it was overbooked, but I had a reservation, and it was guaranteed. So they put me in a 4-star hotel for the same price. I read that the museums here are always packed, and the restaurants are overrated and overpriced. But I went to a museum early this morning, and there were only a few people there. I even got a discounted ticket. After that, I went to a famous restaurant for lunch. It was priced right, and it was the best meal I've ever had.
Alright, so seems that Luke's trip wasn't actually that good, but it wasn't actually that bad. He had some good experiences, and he also had some bad experiences. So let's go just one by one. For example, delayed. Is delayed a good experience or a bad experience? Well, delayed is a bad experience because it means that your flight was actually pushed to later. What about upgraded? Is it upgraded a good experience or a bad experience? Well, upgraded is good. They moved you up to first class from economy class. What about expire? Is expired a good experience or a bad experience? It's a bad experience because it means that the time that he had available in his visa to be in another country is finished. And what about issued? Good or bad? Issued is good. It's a good experience because it meant that he got a new visa printed on his passport. And what about overbooked? Is overbooked good or bad? Overbooked is actually not a very good experience. And what about guaranteed? Talking about a reservation, is it good or bad? It's good. Guaranteed is a good experience because it means that they kept his reservation. And what about packed? Good or bad? Well, perhaps this is a bad experience because it means that you have to go into a restaurant or you had to go into a museum with a lot of people, which is not always very good. And what about overrated? Good or bad? Well, overrated is not very good, and overpriced is not very good either. And finally, discounted is a good experience because we like money. In this capitalist society, we liked when the price of something we have to pay for has been reduced. Now, let's see another conversation. This time, Luke, the guy from the last reading, is having a conversation with his cousin Jason. So let's see what they have to say. Please listen and read.
Exercise 2. Conversation. Welcome home. Part A.
Luke, welcome home.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for picking me up.
That's what friends are for. I read your blog. I can't believe your flight was delayed and your hotel was overbooked.
I know, but things turned out okay.
Hey, where's your luggage?
They never found it. The man at the airport told me to be patient.
Patient? Are you serious? You've been patient.
Well, he advised me to call in a few days to check on it. Anyway, look. I got you a souvenir.
Really? Thank you.
Well, it seems after the conversation that Luke's experience was actually not that bad. Was it? But I want you to pay attention to two sentences from the conversation. The first one is this sentence. In the conversation, Luke talks to his cousin and he says that the man at the airport told him to be patient. He was in the airport and he talked to some guy, and that guy told him to be patient. So what did the man advise? His advice was to be patient. What is Luke doing in the conversation? In the conversation, Luke is reporting the advice the person from the airport gave him. The man at the airport told me to be patient. Now let's go with the second sentence I want you to see. Well, Luke says to his cousin Jason, he advised me to call in a few days. With this sentence, Luke is reporting the advice he was given by the guy in the airport. He advised me to call in a few days. Subject plus advice plus object pronoun plus a verb in infinitive. The man at the airport told me to be patient. Subject, the man at the airport. Told, plus object pronoun, in this case is me, plus a verb in infinitive with to. That is what this lesson is about. Reporting advice and reporting commands. So let's go to the grammar and see how it works. Grammar 3, reporting commands and advice. These reporting verbs are followed by an object plus infinitive. Notice the placement of not. So, the man in the airport gave Luke some advice and some commands. Commands are orders, are things you have to do. So, the man in the airport said to Luke, be patient. And how does Luke report it to his cousin? He says, he told me to be patient. Don't be impatient, the man in the airport said. He told me not to be impatient. Remember to take your room key, said the man in the hotel. Now this is apparently a hotel. So we say that he reminded us, because he's talking to us, to take a room key. Don't forget your room key, the man said. He reminded us not to forget a room key. Call in a few days. So the advice he gave us was to call in a few days. So he advised me to call in a few days. And don't carry a lot of cash. The man warned her, to woman, not to carry a lot of cash. So please pay special attention. Pay attention to the use of the affirmative sentences when you're reporting. He told me to be patient, but look at the negative sentence where the person gives you a negative advice. Don't be impatient. He told me not to be impatient. Don't carry a lot of cash. He warned her not to carry a lot of cash. Why don't we go to the next exercise and see how it goes? Same page 49. Now, look at your friend Maria's travel advice. Maria gave us some advice related to traveling. What are we going to do? We're going to rewrite the advice that she gave us. And we're going to use reporting verbs. Number 1, Maria said, get a good guidebook. So, she told me to get a good guidebook. Number 2, Maria said, don't pack too much. How do I report it? She told me not to pack too much. In my bag, of course. Maria also said, buy a youth hostel card. So she advised me to buy a youth hostel card. She also said, get a visa. So she reminded me to get a visa. Remember, these are advice that were given in the past. So we are reporting them as something that happened in the past. She also said, don't go out at night alone. So she warned me not to go out alone at night. She also said, keep your passport safe. She told me to keep my passport safe. Use ATMs to get cash. So she advised me to use ATMs to get cash. Just not go getting money around. No, she advised me to use ATMs to get cash. And finally, she said, don't forget to write. So she reminded me not to forget to write. Thus, that is the correct use of tell, advise, remind, and warn when you are reporting something somebody advised you or somebody else, or something that somebody commanded you or somebody else in the past. So, an example. Would you like to see an example? Okay. Well, you know, the woman in the picture is Claudia Lopez. She is the mayor of Bogota. So, these are some advice or commands given 2 weeks ago by Claudia to the people from Bogota for this period of isolation. The first advice that she gave us, this is actually not an advice, that was actually a command. She said, stay at home. The second thing she commanded us, or she told us that we had to do, was don't use your car. The third thing she said that we had to do was don't take a long time walking your dog. When you go in the morning and you take the dog for a poo or for peeing, well, you shouldn't take a long time. Don't drink alcohol excessively. That is another advice. And the last advice she gave you is buy only what you need. Do not go panic shopping. That's what she told us. So she gave us these 5 commands or advices. And what are we going to do? We're going to report these commands and advices to another person. We're going to tell another person what Claudia has told us or reminded us or warned us to do or advised us to do as well. So the first one. Claudia warned us to stay at home. That's what she said. Claudia reminded us not to use our car. Claudia told us not to take a long time walking the dog. And she also said, don't drink alcohol excessively, so she advised us not to drink alcohol excessively. And finally, she reminded us to buy only what we needed from supermarkets. So keep in mind this structure. This is how we report commands and advice. Well, I hope you understood what reporting commands and advice is, how we do it, and that you have the opportunity to remember the vocabulary that we just learned. If you have any other questions, if you have any other comments related to class or the videos or the topics for class, just remember to let me know. You can send me emails, you can send me messages on Teams, you can send me, I don't know, whatever way you feel like you need to do to talk to me and let me know your comments and your questions. So, see you next class. Enjoy your Holy Week, enjoy your Easter, and remember, be safe and eat. Bye bye.